The day that should have been filled with light began instead under a strange, electric sky. Hope Logan woke before dawn, her pulse already quick with anticipation and nerves. The soft Los Angeles breeze pressed against the curtains, carrying a faint scent of rain, the kind that hinted at both blessing and omen. Today, she would marry Liam Spencer once again, sealing a bond she had fought through betrayal and heartbreak to preserve. The Forrester mansion had been transformed into a scene of perfection, white orchids draped across archways, candles arranged in graceful symmetry, every detail a testament to Hope's belief that love, when pure, could survive even its own destruction. But perfection, as the Forresters had learned too often, was fragile, and fate had a way of creeping into beauty like a crack through glass. Sheila Carter was awake too, watching from the shadows of her small apartment, eyes fixed on a photo of the couple she both admired and resented. Her reflection in the window seemed foreign, harder than she remembered, the years of rejection carved into the angles of her face. She had promised Deacon Sharp that she would stay away, that she would not destroy what little peace she had found. Taylor Hayes, too, had warned her, urging her to seek help, to let go of the obsession with belonging to a family that had long decided she was beyond redemption. But obsession was what kept Sheila alive, the belief that if she could just be seen, be understood, she could rewrite the story the world had written about her. Hope, her son's daughter-in-law, represented that possibility of acceptance. And so, in the stillness before the morning broke, Sheila made her decision. She would go to the wedding.
She would not be the monster this time.
She would prove she was still capable of love. By mid-morning, the estate buzzed with activity. Photographers adjusted lenses, guests took their seats, and laughter rippled across the manicured lawn. Hope, radiant in her gown, looked every bit the symbol of renewal, her hand trembling slightly as she adjusted her veil. Liam's eyes softened when he saw her, but beneath his joy there was a flicker of unease. They had both fought hard to reach this day, endless misunderstandings, old loves resurfacing, their faith in one another tested by the ghosts of their past. Today, he wanted nothing but peace. Deacon stood near the back, his expression uneasy. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The warnings he had given Sheila echoed in his head. He had told her that showing up would destroy everything, that Hope would never forgive her, that she would only confirm everyone's worst fears. But Deacon knew Sheila. When she set her heart on something, not even reason could stop her. He scanned the crowd, his pulse quickening, every sound seeming sharper than it should be. The ceremony began under the hush of violins. Beth toddled down the aisle scattering petals, Douglas followed, smiling shyly, and then Hope appeared. Every step she took an echo of the promise she had made to herself, to let the past go. As she reached Liam, the crowd sighed, some with tears in their eyes. For a fleeting moment, it felt as if everything broken could finally heal. And then it happened. At first, it was just a ripple in the air, a murmur spreading from the back row. A figure moved between the guests, slowly, deliberately. When people turned, the whisper turned into shock. Sheila Carter, dressed in muted gray, stood at the edge of the aisle. For a moment, even the music faltered. Her presence was so surreal that no one reacted, as if disbelief had frozen time. Then Hope saw her, and the color drained from her face. "Sheila," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Liam's hand tightened around hers. He turned, his jaw locking. Around them, gasps broke out. Security guards moved forward, but Sheila lifted her hands in a pleading gesture. "Please," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm not here to hurt anyone. I needed to see this. To see my family." The word family hung in the air like a curse. Deacon rushed toward her, panic written across his face. "What are you doing?" he hissed under his breath. But Sheila barely looked at him. Her eyes were fixed on Hope, hopeful, desperate, almost childlike. "I just wanted to be part of this moment," she said softly, stepping forward. Brooke Logan, standing among the guests, was the first to react. You don't belong here, Sheila, she said, her voice sharp enough to cut through the tension. You've caused enough pain to this family. Leave before you destroy something else. Sheila's face contorted, not in anger but in heartbreak. I didn't come to destroy anything, she said. I came because I love you, all of you. I've done terrible things, yes, but I've paid for them. Haven't I suffered enough? Taylor stepped forward then, her calm voice cutting through the noise. Sheila, this isn't the time. You need to go. But Sheila's desperation only grew. You all think you can erase me, she cried. Pretend I don't exist. But I am part of this family. My blood runs through your veins, Hope. Through your daughter's veins. I just want a chance, to be forgiven, to belong. Chaos erupted. Guests stood, whispering, some frightened, others furious. Security reached for her arm, but Sheila jerked away. In that movement, a vase toppled, shattering on the marble floor. The noise echoed like thunder. Hope stepped forward, trembling. Sheila, please, she said softly. You can't do this. Not today. Something in her voice, gentle, pleading, seemed to pierce Sheila's armor. For a heartbeat, she looked human again, vulnerable. I'm sorry, she whispered. I just wanted to see you happy. To see if there was still a place for me. And then the accident happened. No one would ever agree on what came first, the guard reaching for her, Deacon trying to intervene, or Sheila pulling back too fast. But suddenly, there was movement, a stumble, and the sharp crack of glass. Sheila's arm hit a candelabrum. Flames leapt to the drapery. Panic surged. Guests screamed, scattering as fire crawled up the wall. Liam pulled Hope backward, shielding her, while Deacon grabbed a tablecloth to smother the flames. The air filled with smoke and chaos. Through it all, Sheila stood frozen, watching her own destruction unfold. The sight of terrified faces, the smell of smoke, it was as if every sin she had ever committed had come to life before her. She whispered, I didn't mean for this, but no one could hear her over the chaos. When the fire was finally contained, the damage was more than physical. The ceremony was in ruins, the guests shaken, Hope's wedding gown streaked with soot. But worse than the wreckage was the silence that followed, the silence of realization. Sheila was gone. No one had seen her leave. It was as if she had vanished into the smoke itself. Hours later, as paramedics checked on guests and police took statements, the aftermath settled in like ash. Deacon sat alone on the steps, his hands shaking. He had begged her not to come, and now the image of her tear-streaked face burned behind his eyes. Taylor tried to comfort him, but there was no comfort left to give. She wanted forgiveness, he said quietly. And instead, she just proved everyone right. Hope and Liam stood together in the dim light of the ruined reception hall. The candles had melted into misshapen pools, the flowers were scorched, and the air smelled faintly of smoke and loss. Hope's hands trembled as she touched the singed edge of her veil. She didn't come to hurt us, she said softly. She came because she couldn't bear being forgotten. Liam exhaled slowly, his arm tightening around her. Some people can't be saved, Hope. No matter how much you want to believe they can. But Hope wasn't sure. Because as she looked around at the devastation, she couldn't shake the feeling that something larger had been set in motion, that Sheila's desperate act wasn't an ending, but the beginning of something darker. 2 days later, a new headline appeared in the news. Unidentified woman found injured near the coast. The description matched Sheila. Deacon drove there himself, his heart pounding, but by the time he arrived, the hospital bed was empty. No patient. No record. Only a note left behind on the pillow. Tell Hope I'm sorry. And tell her I'll never stop trying. From that moment, no one truly slept in Los Angeles. The wedding had become legend, a story of beauty turned to chaos, of love nearly devoured by obsession. Hope and Liam's union survived, but it carried the shadow of that day forever. Brooke blamed Deacon. Taylor blamed herself. And somewhere, in the vast, faceless sprawl of the city, Sheila Carter walked among them once more, alive, unseen, her heart a battlefield of regret and defiance. She had failed to earn forgiveness, but she had achieved something far more dangerous. She had become unforgettable. And in a world built on secrets and redemption, that was the most powerful weapon of all. The days after the wedding were heavy with a silence that didn't belong to peace. Smoke still clung to the Forrester grounds, the sweet scent of lilies replaced by something bitter, metallic, the ghost of fire. Hope found herself staring at her hands more than speaking, her wedding ring gleaming like a reminder of a promise made under cursed skies. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Sheila's face, tearful, pleading, desperate for belonging, and then the flames. No one could quite agree what had caused it. A candle, a stumble, a moment of chaos too swift to stop. But everyone knew what it meant. Sheila Carter had returned, and she had left a scar that would not heal.
Deacon didn't sleep.
He replayed every second of that day in his mind, wondering if he could have stopped her, if one more plea might have changed the ending. Taylor visited him, trying to soothe the guilt that had hollowed him out, but she saw the terror behind his eyes, the fear that Sheila might still be out there. And she was right to fear. Somewhere beyond the reach of police reports and searchlights, Sheila Carter was alive. She awoke in a motel near the coast, her arm bandaged, her body aching. The fire had spared her, but barely. She remembered the screaming, the heat, the betrayal in their eyes. She had wanted forgiveness. Instead, she had become their nightmare again. As she sat up, she saw the note she had scrawled before leaving the hospital. "Tell Hope I'm sorry." But sorry wasn't enough anymore. Somewhere between the burning hall and the cold sea, something in her had broken for good. She realized that she would never be accepted, no matter how many times she tried to prove herself. So maybe she thought it was time to stop asking. In Los Angeles, the Forrester and Logan families struggled to return to normal. The media had devoured the chaos of the wedding, calling it the day love went up in flames. Brooke blamed Deacon, Ridge blamed security, and Taylor blamed herself. Liam, steady as ever, tried to anchor hope, but even his patience cracked under the weight of her obsession with understanding Sheila. "She didn't want to hurt us," Hope kept saying. She wanted to be seen. But Liam couldn't stand hearing it anymore. "You saw her, Hope. We all did. And now everything we built is tainted by her." That argument was the first of many. By the second week, Hope could feel the distance forming again, the same familiar coldness that had haunted their past separations. He wanted to forget. She wanted to make sense of the chaos. She started visiting Deacon more often, asking questions about Sheila's past, about her childhood, her failures. The more she learned, the less certain she felt about who the real villain was. Meanwhile, Deacon received a call that froze his blood. A security camera near the coast had captured footage of a woman resembling Sheila, limping into an alley late at night. Police were alerted, but by the time they arrived, she was gone. Only a smear of blood on a payphone remained. Deacon didn't tell Hope immediately. He didn't want to feed her obsession, but news has a way of finding its own path. When Hope found out, she demanded to go there herself. They drove together in silence. The sky was bruised with twilight, the ocean restless. The alley was empty, the air smelling faintly of salt and copper. Hope crouched where the blood had dried, touching it with trembling fingers. "She was here," she said, her voice breaking. "She's alive." Deacon turned away. Alive doesn't mean safe. Or sane. But Hope wasn't listening. Something about Sheila's desperation at the wedding had reached her, a mirror of her own fear, the fear of being unloved, misunderstood. "If she's still out there," Hope whispered, "she's alone. And someone that broken doesn't just disappear." That night, Sheila called Deacon.
Her voice was faint, cracked.
"You were right," she said. "I shouldn't have gone. But they'll never let me go, Deacon. They'll hunt me until they make me a monster again." "Where are you?" he begged. But Sheila only laughed softly, the kind of laugh that sounded like a sob. "Tell Hope not to look for me. I'm not her ghost to chase. I'm her warning." Then the line went dead. From that moment, A strange unease settled over everyone. Taylor began to notice inconsistencies in the police reports: the fire, the missing surveillance footage, the security guard who never came forward after the chaos. Someone was helping Sheila. But who? Brooke suspected Deacon, though she had no proof. Hope's insistence on seeing the good in Sheila only deepened that suspicion. "You sound like her," Brooke said one night, trembling. "You think you can fix evil, but evil doesn't want to be fixed."
Hope didn't answer.
Because even she wasn't sure anymore what she believed. A week later, a letter arrived at Forrester Creations. It was written in Sheila's looping script, addressed to Hope. The handwriting was shaky, the words uneven. "You don't understand yet, but you will. I wasn't trying to ruin your day. I was trying to save it. Someone wanted that wedding destroyed, and it wasn't me. They used me to do it. They wanted chaos. Look closer at the one smiling beside you. You'll see who the real enemy is." Hope's hands trembled as she read it. Liam dismissed it as manipulation. Brooke wanted it burned. But Taylor hesitated. The mention of someone else struck her deeply. She had seen Sheila's fear that day, not anger, but panic. Could it be true? When they showed the letter to Ridge, he froze. His expression darkened as he whispered, "There was someone else near the back, someone I didn't recognize. I thought he was a guest." Security footage confirmed it. A man in black had entered the venue minutes before Sheila's arrival and disappeared during the chaos. His face was never captured. The realization came like a cold wave. Sheila might not have come alone. From that point, paranoia consumed them. Hope became distant, obsessed with decoding every detail of the wedding. Liam accused her of losing herself to a ghost. Their love, barely healed, began to crumble. Deacon vanished for days at a time, chasing whispers of Sheila along the coast. Taylor confided in Ridge that she believed a larger force was at play, someone using Sheila as a pawn in a vendetta against the Forresters. And then, just as the family began to turn on itself, the first tragedy struck. Deacon was found unconscious in his apartment, the room ransacked. No signs of forced entry, but a single clue left behind: a silver locket, scorched at the edges, containing a photo of Hope and Beth. The same locket Sheila had worn at the wedding. Hope was inconsolable. She sat by her father's hospital bed, her tears falling silently. "She's not trying to hurt us," she whispered to Taylor. "She's trying to warn us." But Taylor saw something else in Hope's eyes, something that frightened her. Compassion had turned into obsession. By the next evening, Hope disappeared. Her phone last pinged near the same coastal road where Sheila had last been seen. Liam and the police searched through the night. Finally, just before dawn, they found her car abandoned by the cliffs. Inside, another note, this one written in Hope's handwriting. "I have to understand her. I have to end this my way." Weeks passed. The world moved on, but the Forresters lived in quiet dread. Until one morning, Ridge received a package with no return address. Inside was a flash drive. He plugged it into his laptop and froze as a video filled the screen. It showed Hope, alive but pale, sitting beside a campfire. Next to her, in the flickering light, was Sheila, older, wearier, her hand resting protectively on Hope's shoulder. "I told you they wouldn't understand," Sheila said softly. "But you came anyway." Hope nodded, her eyes glassy but calm. "Because maybe forgiveness isn't about them. Maybe it's about us." The screen flickered, then went black. For a long time, no one spoke of it. The police couldn't trace the video's location. Deacon recovered, but refused to talk. Brooke broke down completely. And Taylor, though she tried to stay composed, could feel a truth forming in her mind that no one wanted to face. Sheila hadn't destroyed the family that day at the wedding. She had infected it, with doubt, compassion, and fear. She had forced them all to see themselves through her eyes. And somewhere out there, in the lonely spaces between guilt and forgiveness, Hope Logan had crossed the line that separated savior from sinner. Because once you follow a monster into the dark long enough, you stop being certain who the monster really is.